tuition to any state-funded college, why not give us a call? Call 1-800-841-3103 or visit online at goang.com to find out more. Again, that's 1-800-841-3103. The Air National Guard, guarding America, defending freedom.
When you don't go to geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your moves.
When you don't go to geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar.
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.
Okay, Matt, are you with us? Are you with us, Matt?
I sure am.
We something happened. Some gremlins jumped up in the board here, so I don't know what happened. So anyway, welcome back. Here we are. Let's start some college football talk. Rick-riggin is out playing monsters, whatever that is. He's going to try to get him on here in just a few moments before we get into the NFL talk. But certainly Matthew Embry of 96.1 WSBT, official Notre Dame flagship station there in South Bend. Obviously, the Irish beat the Devils today. First of all, why does Notre Dame even have a quarterback controversy? Let's start there.
Well, I think the blame on that has to go in Coach Kelly's face. The fact that he did not make it clear and say one guy's the starter. Now, the insider rumors are unconfirmed reports that Ian Book is going to get the ball for the first possession for this game. Now, I can't confirm that, but that's what I've heard, supposedly. It's just a messy situation because, let's face it, Brandon Wimbush is not the reason this offense is struggling. Far from it. You look at the offensive line, you lose two players that went in the top 10 of the NFL draft, and Mike McGlinchey and Quentin Nelson. You have problems with the receiving efficiency of Alize Mack, Chase Claypool, Miles Boykin, having a lot of problems with dropping the football. And you have, I think, a little bit of inconsistent flow from the running game. Now, Tony Jones Jr. had a decent performance last week against Vanderbilt with 100 yards rushing and just under 100 yards in terms of catching and receiving. But you look at that situation, and there are more problems in this, and it's not solely an issue involving Brandon Wimbush. So the fact that he is talking about playing both Wimbush and Book, now he's done that the first three games where Book's been limited, like in short yardage situations where they've been near the end zone, which I'm fine with. But to put it where it's one possession for Book, one possession for Wimbush, back and forth, that reminds me of the Texas game where they absolutely fell on their face when they did that strategy. And they did it for the next few games, and it didn't work out there either. So I really don't know what Coach Kelly's trying to do here. And if he's just putting the blame on Brandon Wimbush here, I'm sorry, but there is way more problems on the offensive side of the ball than Brandon Wimbush.
Well, absolutely, and let's back up a couple weeks. First of all, Ball State had a ball game with you. Michigan had a ball game with you. We knew that was going to happen. Vanderbilt had a ball game with you. Notre Dame, is it safe to say, even though they're winning, they are definitely struggling?
Defensively, I would say no, because the defense bailed them out, I'd say, in the Ball State and the Vanderbilt games. Obviously, Alohi Gilman's forced fumble. If Vanderbilt gets in the end zone that game and the ball doesn't go through the back of the end zone, I think you could have been talking about a whole different story in that game because Shermer really gave them problems. And then offensively, you got a couple decent cogs in Tony Jones Jr. and Jafar Armstrong in the backfield. But like I said, the passing game and the offensive line, they have some work to do to solidify that attack and give more options, because I don't think it would matter if it was Wimbush or Book. I think they'd be struggling regardless of the situation, because all the other workings in that receiving core and the offensive line are just not functioning properly right now for them to be effective and get the ball down the field when they have possession of the ball. I mean, they had too many 3-and-outs, especially against Vanderbilt, where Vanderbilt was able to control the possession, and for a Wake Forest team that prides itself on trying to run up to 100 plays a game, controlling the time possession battle is imperative if Notre Dame wants to escape Winston-Salem with the win today.
Well, we didn't get a chance to have breaking rank this week, but Notre Dame still ranked at number 8, and it's a sloppy number 8. Take on Wake Forest today. Let's break it down by the numbers. Notre Dame is in North Carolina today, taking on the Wake Forest Devils. What are some of the keys to the game? What are the things to watch? What does Notre Dame have to win? And how good of a team is Wake Forest?
Wake Forest, I think, is an underachieving team. I think poor performance last week against Boston College and a loss really is not the team that Wake Forest can be. You look at this roster, and you have Sam Hartman, who's definitely a threat with the quarterback position, although despite the fact he has 6 touchdown passes but also 5 interceptions. And then you have, obviously, a wide receiving threat in Greg Dortch, who also had a big game last time they played the Irish. So you look at the scenarios right there, there are possibilities for them to do some damage with the passing game. The running game, because of that, may open up for them as well. It's not necessarily a one-guy situation. It's a running back by committee. But you look at that roster, and they certainly have positions where they can hurt the Irish, especially if they are able to control the time of possession like they are planning on doing with the possibilities of running. Like I said, they pride themselves on trying to run with an up-tempo as many as 90 to 100 plays per game on the offensive side of the ball. And I think we may have lost Tom here. So talking on a few things here, we'll hopefully have Tom back here in just a moment, but taking a look at a few scenarios here. Obviously, you look at Notre Dame, Chip Long, offensive coordinator. It'll be interesting to see how much he tightens the purse strings or loosens the purse strings. Certainly, that's one thing you look at. Keep in mind, like we said, Harry Heastan, the offensive line coach, a new offensive line coach, maybe a different philosophy and things, maybe not, maybe an adjustment there, perhaps. I mean, you have talented linemen there, Robert Hainsey, Leon Eichenberg, et cetera, Sam Mustipher, but maybe not at the level that you're looking for. And perhaps that's one issue that's kind of hanging out there that's making things difficult for the Notre Dame offense. Now, as far as the defensive side of the ball, obviously the loss of Mike Elko to Texas A&M defensive coordinator hurt them, but I think they've had decent performance based on the first 3 games from the new defensive coordinator in Clark Lee. And like I said, the secondary could have a field day if Hartman has trouble with accuracy. This is a guy that only completes 55% of his passes. And like I said, 6 touchdown passes, but 5 interceptions in the first 3 games. So a guy like a Julian Love, who leads the NCAA in pass breakups, could have a big night. Jalen Elliott, who had 2 interceptions against Ball State, could come up big. And another guy to keep an eye on, we talked about Alohi Gilman, the Navy transfer with the big play against Vanderbilt. But if you're looking for one breakout guy, Tom, today, as far as the secondary, watch out for the true freshman in Houston Griffith, the son of former NFL fullback Howard Griffith with the Denver Broncos. That could be the guy that has the big breakout, especially if Notre Dame plays the nickel defense like they are expected to challenge this passing attack from Wake Forest.
Well, we're definitely going to be watching this game and see what happens and how it plays out. That's for sure, because Notre Dame is just, especially if you're a Notre Dame fan, and we know Rick-Riggin is one of those, and I'm hoping that we can get connected with him at least for a few minutes here. But it's very disappointing when you're a Notre Dame fan, and, I would assume you living up there in Notre Dame country, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Fans aren't happy with the Irish right now. They need to do more than just win.
But the thing is, though, and this is the thing that just irks me, is the coaching staff, well, certainly Brian Kelly and Indy Nation, is putting too much of the blame right now on Wimbush's shoulders. And that's where I have a problem with it. Because like I said, there are many problems with this offense. Do not include Brandon Wimbush. Now, granted, 3 interceptions against Ball State wasn't great, but they couldn't get a running game going against Ball State, so he had to throw it up, and he is a guy that is more used to having the run-pass option. He hasn't had that option available to him as much as I think Brian Kelly would like him to have it, and maybe that's why they're looking at Ian Book. But either way, I just feel like you're sending the wrong message to Wimbush because he did not have a bad game against Vanderbilt. I think right now, I don't know what the thought is for Coach Kelly at this point, but to put all the blame on one player when there are 10 other players on the field for the offense, I think is taking it the wrong way, and I think that's what we've looked at. I mean, we've said it on Sports Beat Thursday and Friday when they made the announcement. They didn't announce. They just mentioned, or Kelly mentioned during the Thursday press conference, that both players, Book and Wimbush, would play, an open-ended question. And then we find out this morning, supposedly, that it's going to be Ian Book that's going to be the starter. Again, that's unconfirmed, but that's what we have heard. So I just don't know what you're sending the message as far as to Brandon Wimbush at this point, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Joining us now is the lost, the ghost man, Rick-Riggin. How are you, sir?
Hey, pretty good, Tom. Been busy 2 weeks, buddy.
Oh, I understand. So you're out buying monsters. That's always good. It's getting to be that time of year, isn't it? Absolutely. Well, I know just real quick, as many as these monsters that I drink, I think we need a monster sponsorship here on the show because they just came up with this new flavor called Pacific Punch. It's not too bad. I had to give it a try. So, Monster Energy, if you're listening, the balance is sitting right here waiting on your sponsorship dollars. Hey, monsters go good with Jaeger bombs.
That's right.
So, Rick, we're talking here with Matthew Embry, who's joined us, talk some Indy Car, and we're kind of having a mini breaking rank because we missed the show on Wednesday, so we're trying to play catch up a little bit. But I mean, again, going back to without beating a dead horse, but bringing you into the conversation, Rick, you're not happy with Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans aren't happy with Notre Dame. They're winning, yes, that's true, but they are also struggling. And I kind of seen a trend since Michigan, then Ball State, then Vanderbilt. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm a little concerned about Wake Forest based on what we've seen over the past 3 games, Rick.
Well, I'll just go back to Wake Forest. Last year, how they played Notre Dame, put them, I think, 35, 38 points up against the Irish last year. If they're going to score like that again, Notre Dame's going to put up more points than 24 points like they've been doing the past couple weeks. So I think the offense is stale. I think our offense is highly predictable under Chip Long, and they obviously want to run the ball, try a power running game out of the shotgun formation or your pistol formations, and it needs a spark. And I think they're going to start Ian Book today. Maybe he'll get some passing yards going, but bring a spark to the offense. I'm not sure if that's the right decision to make. I think it's what the fan base wants is a change of pace, a change in the offense, because the offense just looks stale. And at times it looks like Brandon Wimbush he doesn't know how to read a defense just yet.
So, Matt, go ahead. You're up, and we'll go ahead and get into this top 25 real quick before 9 o'clock. I know, Rick, you got a hard stop as well, and so we got to get into the NFL talk, so we'll try to cover as much as we can. But, Matt, do you have any comments on Notre Dame, any more comments on Notre Dame or what Rick just said?
Well, I think, like I said, it's not necessarily the issue with Wimbush. I think the receiving core needs to limit the drops, and the offensive line needs to be more effective. I think they need to give Wimbush more options, and I think the same thing would be happening if it was Ian Book under center. It's just the quarterback right now, whether it's Wimbush or Book, just do not have the options to them, effective options, to allow this offense to be effective. I don't care if it was Wimbush, Book, or Jakovic. I think either quarterback will be struggling with the way this receiving core has been dropping passes, and also how this offensive line is not gelling like they did when they had Mike McGlinchey and Quentin Nelson.
He's right.
Kind of get through.
It's not just a quarterback problem. It's not just a quarterback problem. It's across the board on the offense. So he's right, but they're going to try to bring a spark to the team, maybe a new life. I start them today. We'll see how it goes.